the Rangers Journal now.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers News Podcast here on the Rangers Journal. I do apologise that we're a bit later this week, but both Cammy and me were struggling to get available at the regular time of late morning, midday. Cammy, how are you doing today, mate?
Aye, good. Just we were obviously hoping Rangers would do some more things by the time we came on later on, you know. But there's so much going on, and it's only a week to the league season starts, you know. So looking forward to talking Rangers as always.
Well, this morning I think I put a message in our group saying, right, I'm not going to have time to kind of put a list together. Just send me over all the news for today. And it was just like overwhelming how much stuff actually is to talk about. So we will get into it. We'll get into it. Just to let everybody know that, Scotty's going to join us in a bit. He's just running behind, but we managed to pull him in for this episode as well. So I guess the breaking news earlier this afternoon, Cammy, was, and I'm going to probably pronounce his name wrong, Václav Cherney has signed for a season-long loan from Wolfsburg in Germany. Now, with most of the people we're linked through with Clement and sorry, I forget his backroom staff, but I don't know a lot of them. I haven't really seen a lot of them, and he is no different for me in this case. But all the stuff I'm hearing on social media this afternoon is that this is a great acquisition for us.
I think it's a position that we've needed strengthened for a long time. The fact that it's a season-long loan, you know, it's the quality that he can bring. You know, it's intriguing that he's a left-footed right winger,
Yep.
you know, which seems to be a sort of modern thing about the left-hand side. The right-footed player plays on the other side, you know, and I think Cortez, can potentially go both ways. But yeah, very, very sort of exciting. He's obviously went to Wolfsburg for big money. And it's one in the door, and hopefully more to come, you know. And we've joked about it, but I shaved my head freshly and knowing that he was going to be announced. The Baldies are coming to Ibrox, you know. But I just hope he can hit the ground. I just hope he can hit the ground running, basically.
Scott, you've joined us. Thanks very much, mate. It looks like you've had shaved your head as well. Is that right?
No, this is actually growing back in. I wish Cammy gave me a text earlier on so we could have been know a little bit. But we all know I'm founder of Orient Shanklin, so like Rangers supporters club. Me and Cammy could have some sort of baldy club going, no, but it's all one.
Well, just we mentioned Cherney signing for us on a season-long loan, mate, just before you joined, and I'm sure you heard what Cammy was saying there. The interesting thing for me is this left-footed, right-sided player. I'm not aware of any other players that have done that. Are you?
I am Robin. Is that not the most Rangers thing you've ever heard in your life? But we're pining for a right winger since Daniel Candace, and we signed one that's got a great left peg on him. I think it's a great signing. I think the pedigree is exactly what we need. We've been saying it. Doug pulled up a brilliant graphic last night on the pod about a kind of squad review, and I was looking at that front line of like Dessers, McCausland, Cortez on the left, and I'm going, it's kind of sad to see, but you bring this guy in, and it's just quality you're bringing in. We've all seen what he's capable of. So it's something I'm really, really looking forward to. I just hope he can cut inside better than Robbie Matondo can.
That's it. And it does look like him and Cortez could probably switch over, because Cortez was kind of doing that a few times before he got injured last season.
That's always, Billy, been a frustration of mine. I go back to the days of Ryan Kent, and it used to frustrate me that Kent was very, very left-footed, and he was on the right hand. He didn't move about. You know, I just think if you're a wide player, you should be able to switch sides, keep the full back guessing. You know, so hopefully Cortez gets himself up to, you know, after a long absence with his injury. You know, and I think, see if you get players ahead of your wide players actually doing their job. Well, we're going to come on to obviously other signings and other potential. You can get away with your right back being a functional right back, in the old-fashioned way of, he tackles, he passes to the person in front of him who's actually more creative. So if you get more creative players middle to front, then and hopefully Cherney comes in. I think he was really good at Ajax. Well, I saw some numbers from his time at Ajax, and he's obviously scored against Celtic when he was only a boy. So let's hope he does that a few times over the next season.
That's right, mate. Scotty, I was saying at the beginning that these players we're linked with a lot of the time. I've only seen YouTube videos of them. Have you seen much of them?
No, that's probably because I'm not the biggest fan of kind of Dutch football. I think it's very it's a very tactical kind of league. Slow-paced, but it's all about breaking the opposition down. It's not really for me, but you can just tell by what I've seen that he is going to be a really, really good acquisition. And I think something that strengthened since he's come in is how we can settle players. And you only need to look at his how quickly Diamonde and Cortes settled him in the first play. They're able to show the best version of themselves. So I'm quite confident that Rangers have done a lot of work behind the scenes to get the guy settled in. And hopefully he's fit enough that he can start next weekend, because we need starters, Billy.
Yeah, for definite. I mean, I'm hoping he can maybe be involved tomorrow, but maybe that's too much too soon. Even a wee 20-minute cameo like the Kevin Thompson cameo that I was talking about last week. But that we know he's in. I've seen his interview on Rangers TV. Speaks really well as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him and hopefully hitting the ground running, because not only do they need players in, most of these players need to be playing 8 and 9 out of 10 for the first couple of weeks, because that's going to be a tough start to the season, away from home in our first game, and then also playing our games at Hampden and our European games there as well. None of this is really putting things in our favour to any degree. So I'll move on for him, Camu. The other thing I seen first thing this morning, I'm trying to go kind of chronological order with the news as it was coming out, and it was Connor Goldson pictured at the airport with an awful lot of suitcases. Didn't look like an overnight bag this time.
I mean, I just saw a Sky summary of the day just before we came on, and it said heading for his medical. It's one hell of a medical with the trolley worth that he had. I think he's probably quite far down the line. He's obviously came across a few of the other side on his flight across to I think he's went to Amsterdam and then done a connection, and he's obviously, a few Celtic fans have gave him a bit of grief and what have you on the flight, which he just question the mentality. But I can only wish Connor Goldson well. I think the guy that we signed back in 2018, I think he was probably one of Gerrard's first signings. Don't think he missed a game for the first 4 or 5 seasons, apart from the odd cup tie. It's but the one thing I will say, he will need replaced. We needed a centre half in if Connor Goldson stayed. In my opinion, I think we potentially need 2 centre halves. I don't think we'll get 2 centre halves by the close of this window. We'll just have to wait. There's been no links. Links might start to come out now that I think, as I've said before, the sort of domino effect of players going out the door, freeing up money and that sort of thing. And I think Philip Clement has said himself that there's people have already said that they want to come to Rangers. A centre half could be one, and I think it's a starting centre half, because as much as Goldson had regressed, I still think he was our best centre half. And that's quite damning, to be honest with you. And that's he's had his moments. I don't think he's ever been the same since he got injured against Liverpool in the Champions League. He picked up the bad injury, and he's picked up a few niggly injuries. But Connor Goldson, for me, will be remembered as a decent centre half who done his best for Rangers across the time. And I think he played, probably 250, 300 games across his time. I've not seen the stats, but it's an interesting move for him going to Cyprus. It'll be an interesting one to follow.
The one thing I was thinking of, because I heard the Amsterdam thing as well, Scotty, this isn't exactly the hardest time of the year to get a flight Cyprus. So going to Amsterdam, and then also Clement saying kind of cryptically that when he was allowed to leave the training camp the other day, that it was going somewhere near, or something along the lines of that. Is it maybe not Cyprus, do you think? Have you heard anything?
Well, see, just going back quickly to the picture with him with all his cases in the airport, I me and Colin for Gallant Few message almost daily, and I messaged him a screenshot earlier on, and he texted me back saying, let's hope Scott Wright's in one of them cases as well. I says, you could probably fit a few Rangers players in them cases. Yeah. It's a weird one, but see, wherever it is he's off to, if it's Aris Limassol or Birmingham, or if he's away to Germany, I think the rumour is that he's going to Germany to finalise a few things, and then he's going to Austria to meet up with his teammates. That's what I've heard. But see wherever he ends up, good luck to the guy. He's been a great servant to the club, a great ambassador. He's behaved the way you would expect a Ranger to behave. You see him on the pitch, he's driving standards. He's been a leader. He's been a good vice captain, good servant, a good player. All in all, I think we've more than the money's worth for Connor Goldson. So it's the right time for him to go, though, Billy. It's the right time for him to go. And wherever he ends up, I wish him all the best for the future.
You know what? I remember hearing that Limassol are training in Austria, aren't they? So that could quite well be. I'm reading too much into not getting a direct flight to Cyprus. But I have to reiterate it. I mean, I was listening to one of these historical podcasts, not ancient history, but it was the Cacinha kind of time. And they mentioned a player that was dropped and how he ran to the press and complained about the manager and quite publicly. I won't mention any names, but that was Connor Goldson did get taken out of the team at the end of the season last season, and I never heard a bad word said or any complaints from him. So all respect to him, and he's not been playing well after that injury. As I agree with you, Cammy, but it's time for him to move on. But he moves on with, I think, everybody's best wishes. I don't know anybody that's got a bad word to say for him, but I think everybody's happy that this is the time for him to go. Another player that we're possibly going to be losing is Yanis Hagi. Apparently linked to go back to Fiorentina for 2.5 million. That's a loss on him, I guess, Cammy? Was it 3.5 we got him for?
I think it was 3 million, because I have a recollection of a 3-year deal, and I think although Celtic fans believe that everybody pays transfers in full, I think it was $1 million. I think it was $1 million a season. So I think it's 2.5 with a 10% sell on. Yep. One hell of a move for him if it comes off, to be honest, getting a move to Serie A. I just think he needs to go somewhere and play. You know, he's pretty much been out the game for 2 years with the bad injury, and then obviously the loan that didn't really work out. But it's so difficult to see today. You're saying it, try to do it in chronological order. You're working and you're looking at the chat, and it's a different player every 15 minutes, you know, and it's like this transfer window's like, you know, it's going to be the death of me, to be honest. But I just want Hagi to go a good pro, you know. But I just think he's run his race at Rangers, and I think it's just part of the necessary clear out and freshness that is needed, you know. So if he gets the move to Serie A, we're going to take a wee bit of a hit, but you're not going to win with every transfer, unfortunately.
Yep. Scotty, I was quite proud when he signed for us. He was on like the Pepsi can in his home country. He's the David Beckham of that place. His weddings live on TV, which is mental. You know, who in this country, apart from maybe the Beckhams, would have been live on TV other than the royal family? But I think you said recently, actually, mate, that you were hoping they would maybe see him again, maybe give him a run out for at least 6 months, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen now.
No, it's the unfilled potential, Billy. See, when you seen him under Gerrard and in numbers, and I mean, you'll always thank him for a Braga game as well, the performance he produced, and we all thought, oh Christ, he is a proper Rangers number 7 for that kind of the initial loan spell and then the first year that he signed after. He's a great player. And then he picked up a horrific injury, and weirdly enough, he signs a new contract under Michael Beale, and then a couple of months later gets shipped out on loan. Which just didn't make any sense. I need to question the communication between the board and management at that time. What was actually going on when that contract was signed? If it wasn't in the manager's plans, I just look at what we've got now, and I think Hagi's probably the best in that position. And I thought if Clement had filled his team full of runners, you need somebody that can pick a needle in a haystack. And we all know Yanis Hagi can pick a pass. I want to say the Riquelme role, but I know he's not as good as Riquelme, but that kind of idea. You put him in the side and you give him a ball and you let him distribute it wherever his space is going to be. You let him create space. But you know what? Rangers have got a good deal. It's a good club he's got in Fiorentina. I think he played for them as a youth or something. Did they know he's going back? It's a right good club in Fiorentina. I think they've reached the Conference League finals at 2 in the last 3 years or something like that. So again, all the best to Hagi, but it's with a tinge of sadness and frustration for me, Billy.
Yeah, I don't think hearing and kind of looking back on what Clement's previous clubs, that he wants a player that he kind of slows it down a bit too much probably for Clement. But hey, I agree with you there on that, guys. I'm going to bring up something Paul said. I was going to keep this to the end, but he's already put it in the comments. So Cifuentes, this can't be true, can it, Scott?
Absolutely not. Surely to God. Like, what's Nils Coppin doing if he's managed to get us? But is that around about £4 million? Am I right? When you change it over,
something like that, yeah.
No, you'd expect your money back. And now we never actually know how much we've paid for Cifuentes in the first place. It's rumoured to be 1.5, but it's an undisclosed fee, so you're never going to know. But if that fee's right, then fair enough. But I think there's an awful lot of... Me and Cammy have kind of joked about it in the chat about we need to be like calm heads and all that kind of stuff. But I'm all in. I'm right in for all the hysteria. Like, see if we've got 5 million for $4 million, sorry, for Cifuentes, then great business, Rangers, and another 5 million for Lammers or whatever it's going to be. I know you'll probably come into that, but
yeah. Well,
you're seeing all these foreign journalists just putting stuff out, and we're all biting on the bait. You know what I mean? I don't think we're actually going to know how much we'll get.
It's maybe in bad taste because it is a Walter Smith statue, but I seen someone had put Niels Coppin's head on the statue outside Ibrox, where getting like 10 million for these two players. Cammy, we'd bite. I think we'd bite a hand off to get our money back. Never mind.
I mean, it's one of those. I think when we signed him, I think he was mooted as a £4 or £5 million player, but we managed to get him for a deal because of his contractual situation. I don't know if we'll find out there, but if that's true, I think he probably has to win the Ballon d'Or across the 4 years of his contract when he signs for that team. You know what I mean? It's listen, it's going to be a warmer climate for him. I think that was a huge part of his problem when he came to our league in our country and all that sort of stuff. So there might actually be a player there if he's more settled and he's no walking about 12 months of the year with a tammy and gloves and all that sort of stuff on, you know. So 5 million, good luck to us if we've managed to pull that. But I think it's probably less with add-ons and all that sort of stuff. But if it's 5 million guaranteed, you know, that's what I was saying about you don't win with one transfer, but you maybe win with another one. It's all about using whatever we accumulate and using it properly.
Well, yeah. Well, I hope I hope we're getting that kind of money for him, or round about that. But I guess we'll find out in the next couple of days. Another one that's been kind of ongoing, and you mentioned it, Scotty. Sam Lammers does look to be signing for FC20 for a reported fee of around. I can't know if it's €5 million or £5 million, but I've seen the 5 million mentioned. So hopefully that gets tied up soon. Do you agree?
I would reckon we'll probably just get my money back on Lammers, maybe a wee bit less because of the contractual situation, and he's been refused, and I think he wants his money off of Rangers before he goes anywhere, and who can blame him, because really want to offer him a contract in the first place. Just get the guy off a wage budget now, Billy. We've heard an awful lot about wage budgets in the last kind of...
Yeah.
I've not spoken about it so much in all my puff, to be honest with you. I mean, it's about time we cut that down, and Sam Lammers, Conor Goldson, Cifuentes, guys like that are major. They come in as major signings, get put on big contracts. So it's 3 major moves for Rangers. Hopefully we can recycle the money well. In terms of Lammers, again, good player, all the ability in the world. Maybe a wee bit of questioning round about the role he was given at Rangers. but not for me, if that makes any sense. I think maybe at a number 9, would he have done a job? I doubt it. I just don't think the league and the club suited to him. And I think he's going to go and he'll be in the Dutch national team by the end of the season.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, if he keeps scoring these the way he has been in for his loan spell, then he's definitely going to make that team. Cammy, I'm guessing you're happy to see him go as well.
Aye, I mean, I think I've said many times. This time last year, pre-season, he looked a player, and then the real action started, and he never kicked a ball after that. You know, it just shows you don't judge too much on pre-season one way or the other. If somebody looks like a superstar, it doesn't guarantee that it's going to transmit when the real action starts. You know, it's just, I think his best football's been in the Dutch league. He's been around the countries, and it's never really worked out for him. It's another one of the head scratchers from Michael Beale's Carnage summer. You know, that's I don't know what the rationale and a lot of what was done, given 4-year contracts here, there and there, and not just on Lammers. The challenge that Philip Clement and Niels Koppen now have is using the budget that's now there, the wage budget that is there. If we're giving somebody £25,000-30,000 a week, they need to be a starting player. They need to be somebody that's really influencing the games and helping us to be competitive and hopefully win trophies and that sort of thing. We can't have wages sitting in the stand or sitting on the bench. You know, it's like your top earners have to be your top players.
It seems to be crazy, the money that was given out in salaries last season, and I agree with you, Scott. Like, we shouldn't be considering the wage budget, but I mean, we've been hearing for a few years that our wage budget was too high. So for it to be made even higher last season, the good thing is, yeah, we look to be getting a couple of these big players off the books, and also we lost to, you know, Lundstrom would have been on a decent bit of money. If Tav goes, he'll be on a decent bit of money. So that wage bill hopefully frees up some money to bring in these other players, because I think we forget that you can sign a £5 million player, we might have £5 million, but you've got to then pay them the wages of a £5 million player, which is, you know, what I guess we were thrown about last season. But it looks to be, at least the news is that Lammers is good. And I guess I had no ill will against him. He just wasn't the right player for us. And I don't know what system he was bought to play in. If it was the number 9, his first game was he not playing as a 10? So it was a strange setup.
So we signed a number 10 when we already had Hagi, Cantwell, Lawrence, who could play in that. You know, it's like you just question the thought process. To be honest with you, it didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now, to be honest. So if we've managed to get out of Dodge a year later, then well done to those doing the deal.
Billy, can I come in quickly?
Yeah, of course, mate.
Cammy, did you see the link with Lammers and Trabzonspor this morning? What's going on between Trabzonspor and Rangers just now?
The Trabzonspor sporting director's obviously done what all us Rangers fans have done and watched those YouTube clips of they're on to Seville, and he's like trying to get the band back together. You know, it's I just see Trabzonspor and Rangers, and I'm like, I think somebody said, is John Lundstrom on a refer a friend percentage? You know, it's like, but I don't think that's where he's going to end up. But it's pretty crazy, that one.
Heart and Hand put a tweet out earlier on. It was funny, like, said, right, which one of you guys is taking over at Trabzonspor? Because the links to them for pretty much all the Deadwood we're trying to get off. Deadwood in the nicest possible way, but that we're trying to kind of move on. It's quite a strange thing. I don't think that's where he's going though. It does look like it's FC20, doesn't it?
Aye.
Well, again, we can move on from Sam Lammers, and hopefully that's we get an announcement in the next couple of hours or the next tomorrow morning with him and possibly Goldson as well. What I was thinking, what came to my mind with this signing today, because Cherney I only really heard about, maybe it was rumours on Wednesday and then a bit more confirmation on the Thursday that it was happening, and it's announced on the Friday. One that's been going on quite a few weeks, and I'll try and do your pronunciation, Scott, is Joan Jordan. who has been linked with it for quite a few weeks. And this morning, or at least early this afternoon, it seemed to come out that the clubs, us and Seville, had come to an arrangement about paying his salary, which is great. They were apparently going to be prepared to pay 60% of it and us 40%. But now the player himself has apparently said he's not interested in coming. Is there any? Do you think there's any real truth in this move at all, or was it just kind of paper talk?
I don't know. It's difficult to say what's true and what's not, because we're getting nothing out of the club and everything's coming for the other side. Like this is came from Spain. Do you know what I mean? It's not one of our outlets. It's reporting it, so it's difficult to tell, Billy. In terms of who was I talking about again? Juan Jordan. In terms of Juan Jordan, if he doesn't want to come, Rangers quickly need to move on, because the number 6 position is just as important as a centre back and a striker. We've got a winger now, so we can all kind of chill out and calm down on the right wing position. Now it's about kind of filling other gaps that's in the squad. If Juan Jordan doesn't want to come and play for Rangers, then that's his prerogative. Best of luck to him wherever he goes. If he signs this obligation to buy, I wouldn't be keen on that. The reported 3 to 5 million euros for a 30-year-old that we've never seen in the league before. And I feel as if I'm contradicting myself just now, because I'm banging a Shankland drum constantly just now, but that's a wee bit different. But Juan Jordan, if he came, great, but it would need to be the right deal, if that makes any sense, because I'm not entirely convinced that signing him for that outlay would be a good bit of business.
I mean, I don't watch enough English football, Cammy, but it reminds me of Man United signing Casemiro, who was quite old, or he was older at the time, and they were kind of getting, pilloried that they're a bin fire or whatever. So it seems that if we'd be signing up, because we're getting them we'd be getting them this season, and then we'd have to give him another 3-year contract, someone who's late, getting into the last stages of his career, and for that outlay, that doesn't make sense for me.
I think Dave's comment about can't believe we've gone through the faff of sorting out a deal without sounding out the player first. I think this is where I think Scotty's spot on. There's all these foreign journalists. Some are being accurate and some aren't accurate. And I think you're taking everything as gospel. Everything that is coming out is 100% accurate. I think the same level of inaccuracies can come from foreign journalists, the same as they come from this side of it. So we just have to wait and see. But I've been I've been a broken record. We need a number 6, a defensive midfield player. I almost say it doesn't matter who it is, but it's been something that we have neglected for a while, trying to put square pegs into round holes sort of thing. Try to convert John Lundstrom for what was a number 8 into a number 6, and that sort of situation. Sign a specialist that can actually play alongside probably Connor Barron, and if that's Jordan. But for me, option to buy, yeah, I wouldn't have an issue. Obligation, no. We can't be getting rid of players like Tavernier and Goldson and over 30s on big wages. We can't be getting rid of them and then bringing somebody in on similar sort of cash it would make no sense at all. So we could get him on a season-long loan, see how he does. Option to buy, see where we're at next summer. But I think there's a different player linked every hour from certainly the middle of the park. So it's one of these. I think he's probably on a list. I think there's probably negotiations. Watch this space, really.
And Scotty, what comes to mind for me in this one is the player changing his mind at the last minute. We had the boy that went to Norwich that we were interested in, wasn't it, earlier on in the transfer window. Are you a bit worried that we're identifying, we've got a good scouting thing going when he was copping just now, and you're going to make these initial contacts and, as Clement says, convince a player to come, and then someone else comes in and takes him at the last minute?
No, because then if they're coming in with doubts in the back of their head, they're not all in. And we need players with the mentality of we're all in and we're going to change the culture, and this club, the culture in the dressing room. We're going to put trophy. I want medals around my neck. As a fan, I want leaders on the park. So it's see, at the end of the day, Billy, if they don't want to come and play for Rangers, then I'm not going to lose any sleep over, especially a guy like Juan Jordan, who, without any disrespect, I had never heard of until the link came about.
No, I didn't either. I mean, I know Seville, obviously, great history of the Europa League, isn't it?
Right.
I think they get to keep it if they win it another time. So that's, and I think he's been I mean, he was just given a new contract as well, and then he's been told he's not part of the plans for the future. So fair enough. But I agree with both of you. We should be looking for number one players that 100%, no doubt in their mind, want to be here, and second of all, specialists, as Cammy's saying, because we've I say when did just now forgot his name.
Stephen Davis.
And yeah, you're right, mate. Stephen Davis. No, but I was thinking of right winger that we mentioned earlier on. I've just got a Candace. We've been saying it since he left that we needed a proper right winger, and what we now think we're getting one. It's too many square pegs and round holes, as you were saying, mate, for me. But move on. We've got one more. I've got one more link anyway. You guys feel free to bring in other ones that I've missed from the chats today, and that was another Man United player. I believe he played in the friendly the other week there. Mercato for Man United, but supposedly linked with coming with us. I don't know where he plays, even though I probably seen him in the flesh last week. Scotty, do you know anything about him?
I watched Bob's interview that he recorded earlier on that's getting released at 6:30. Yeah. I think his favourite position's an 8, going by everyone. He's a wee bit, I don't want to give too much away because then folk will not tune in. But
fair enough, mate. No, you don't have to talk about it at all. But
he is very erratic, and basically what the Man United podder says is that I would bet on him getting sent off within the first 5 matches, but you need to stick with him because he needs the support, and he's got very good technical ability, and he's all in basically. He's an all action kind of player. You just need to kind of buckle up, basically. Hannibal's a player I would quite like to see signing.
And Cammy, let's not. I haven't seen the interview yet. I will watch it when it comes on, but we'll not talk too much about the player himself then, because I don't imagine you know any more than me. But what I was going to ask was, is the number 8 the position that we really should be focusing on? For me, it isn't, but I'm not the manager.
Well, this is where we get into a conversation about what are we wanting in the middle of the park. You know, it's I don't want a number 10. I want a number 6 and 2 number 8s. You know, I want us to get back to, I'm not saying a flat 3 like we played under Gerrard on the 55 season when it was Jack, Kamara and Davis. Generally, that was your 3. I'm not saying go back to a functional sort of 3. But I think my desire is to sign a specialist number 6 stroke DM, play them alongside Connor Barron. Nico Raskin can fill in when he comes back. Raskin, I'm not writing Raskin off at this point, but I think Raskin would play better in a 2 if we're going to persist with that. But I think somebody ahead of them, like a more advanced sort of midfield player that's got legs. I would like to see Diomande in that sort of position. I just think we're wasting Diomande playing so deep, in my opinion. So I think the manager strikes me as quite stubborn's maybe not the right word, but I think he's this is the way that I want to play. So all these players are being linked, and we're having these conversations, but I think if he's not a specialist 6, whereas Jordan appears to be more of a specialist 6 than Hannibal, who appears to be more of a energetic 8, if that makes sense. You know, is that, you know, I wouldn't say no to a 6 and an 8. You know, I'm greedy. If they add to the quality of our options and our make us a better team middle to front, then I'm all for it. But I think the defensive midfield player clone of Stephen Davis is what I want, but I don't think we'll get a Stephen Davis clone this late in the window.
Fair enough, mate. Scott, I'd be quite happy to have another Gattuso. But somebody like that will get you off your seat and get the other players.
He is. I think he is. It sounds quite similar to Gattuso and how tenacious and stuff he is, Billy. What I will say is on it though is, I don't know if you noticed on the right winger we unveiled earlier on, it was at the unveiling video, it showed you liking Rangers on Instagram. Hannibal's liked Rangers on Instagram, so is that a thing? Is that a sign? Don't know. It's difficult to tell, but I just want to make it hysteria a wee bit worse for everybody.
It's quite funny though that somebody, I think Cherney's dad or something had linked Rangers, and it's like aeroplanes and all that. Private jets were getting. You were tracking the aeroplanes and all that sort of stuff. It's like I don't know if any support in the world is as mental as the Rangers support when it comes to transfers and all that sort of stuff, you know. So it's we've still got another month to go.
Scott, I'm just going to address a couple of comments mentioning the problem with our audio. They're not going to hear this if they do have a problem with the audio, but it's fine for us as far as we can tell.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is it will be going out on YouTube and your Spotify, Apple podcast apps after the show. So please listen back if you're not getting this just now. But I kind of focused on all the news that I was getting popping up in our chats all through the day. But I guess a big thing this week was the manager coming back into the press conference on Wednesday night at Birmingham to tell us that Todd Cantwell had requested to leave. So, Cammy, I mean, are you surprised at this?
I'm surprised that he came back into the press conference. I'm not surprised that the relationship, as much as he said he has a good working relationship, I'm surprised at the way that played out on Wednesday night. It's been clear that it's obviously been something across pre-season and conversations that maybe happened at the back end of last season. And I think when they've been on training camp, when they've been on training camp, then he's had to sit down with players again and given them the sort of opportunity. But it's strange. I find that the going back into the press conference, when I first heard it on Wednesday night, I just assumed one of the people at the press conference had just asked a question around Todd Cantwell. I just assumed that's how it had sort of came out, rather than going back in and inviting the information. You know, it is what it is. I think I've certainly had my doubts all the way back to when he was substituted after 30 minutes in the Limassol game. And I'm not saying that I'm a psychologist, but you just look at body language, and I don't think there's ever been I think there's just been a personality clash, two different, what he wants. Cantwell, for me, wants a manager, coach that's going to rub his back and rub his tummy and tell him he's wonderful. And Clement isn't going to do that. I don't think, you know, but I know it's different styles for different strokes for different folks and all that sort of thing. But the manager is what he is and Cantwell is. So I think it's just they're just sort of probably clashing. I want my freedom. I want to do this and I want to do that. But it's probably the right thing for Todd Cantwell, and it's certainly the right thing for Rangers. And I think a lot of the comments, my opinions on Todd Cantwell as a player are well known. You know, sand dancer is probably the most common thing. He just doesn't turn up often enough, particularly in the big games when it matters.
Now, Scott, your reaction, because the news broke when you were doing a post-match pod the other night. That's when I was listening to that. It was quite a visceral reaction to him. To me, I think I agree with Cammy. I think his days have been numbered. I don't think the manager does fancy him purely for the reasons he said, that tickling his tummy. He's acting like a teenager, you know, this rebellion against the mum and dad, and they're going to stay out late at night and they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to take their Instagrams and do all this stuff. It's a different world that I grew up in, but I don't think we can afford to carry a player like him at the club. So if he has time for him to move on, which it looks like it is, hopefully we get a fee. I'm kind of happy to see the back of him, and it disappoints me because I obviously loved him when he first came.
somebody put up his podcast from probably the end of last season, and he felt as if he had this unbreakable bond with the supporters and the club, and so he's went for that to calling a Rangers supporter a bellyend on Instagram. So that to me signifies that it was probably coming. I think he left Norwich under a similar kind of chain of thought. I think everybody felt the same towards him towards the end as what sort of the relationship was the same. Basically, I think the same thing's happening again. It's weird though that a manager has left the press conference and then he's literally come charging back in. There's no other way to. It's as if he's left and then he's been told, oh, by the way, he can give clarification on Cantwell's situation because the supporters need clarification. Then he's felt the need to come back in and give us it. In terms of Todd's ability on the ball, I don't think anybody can really question it. When he was here under Michael Beale, what I liked most about Cantwell was his appetite to win the ball back. Feel as if it was very, how do I put it? It was very physical in his approach to being a Rangers player, which was really good at the time. So it is what it is, Billy. It is genuinely one of them things. It's sad. It's sad it's turned out this way, but I'm also happy that we've not got the drama that brings Todd Cantwell to being that comes with Todd Cantwell being a Rangers player at the same time, because you can't ignore it no matter what way you look at it. You know what I mean? It's there. It's in front of your face every day.
Aye. Cammy, you want to come back in?
It's just I'm no looking for I always like if somebody's asking me a question, I like to try and Curry's obviously talking about the back end of last season. The back end of last season, didn't I agree? But what I'm trying to say is at that time, that was the dead rubbers where we beat Celtic 3-0. Michael Beale was the manager. He was given a sort of almost playing as a false nine. We had Matondo on one wing, Sakalo on the other wing. Cantwell was sort of playing in and around. My issue is it's clear he didn't really start the season under Beale particularly well. He didn't start the season at Kilmarnock. Remember, we went to Kilmarnock the first day of the season and he was on the bench. And then there's obviously been the issues with Clement, I think, pretty much since day one. You know, so I just think there's a personality clash there. Nobody, and I certainly won't dispute the quality that and the potential that he has. But what I'll say is he done a podcast probably just after he signed for Rangers, and he spoke about he'd fell out with the director of football, Stuart Webber, when he was at Norwich. You know, so he's now came to Rangers. He's fell out with, and I know that's what happens. You go to different workplaces and all that sort of thing. I just think there's a personality clash. But for me, he's flattered to deceive across the 18 months. I could name 2 or 3 big moments that he's had across 18 months. You want to be the Rangers number 10, the Rangers playmaker. You need to show far more for me. So I wish him well. He wants to leave Rangers. This will be the biggest club that he ever plays for. And I hope in a few years' time he looks back and regrets how quickly he jumped and didn't say, I'm going to show this manager that I've got more about me.
No, I tend to agree with you, mate. It's also disappointing that he was touted, like when he was playing in the Premier League, that he was going to go for 20, 30 million. See, the fact he hasn't, he's only got himself to blame, because if you're falling out with directors of football and stuff, I mean, it reminds me of Kamara, how Kamara kind of down tools with Dundee before coming to us. The way you get them is the way you lose them, isn't it? So he's kind of doing the same here to get away, and fair enough, he wants to be somewhere else. I don't think he's going to go and fulfill that potential that he showed early on in his career. I could be here all night and just keep answering Curry back, but it's if he wants to continue the conversation after the pod, I'm more than happy to chat with him. I wouldn't disagree with a comment that you did say, Curry, because no, I don't think he's the biggest problem we've got, but he's said to the manager he wants to leave, so he needs to go. So fair enough, guys. You have any? Because we do. Is it 6 o'clock that interview's going out, Scotty? Is that right?
6:30.
Oh, 6:30. Well, I'm saying that we've been on for 45 minutes, so I think that's fine. Any other news, guys, you wanted to bring up?
I've not got any news, but I've got a big moan. I do like a moan at Rangers, to be honest. But 2 weeks tomorrow, we go to Hampden for the first league game of the season. 46,000 season ticket holders. Yep, that's silence. Nothing. No communication at all. Listen, I get that this is difficult. This is something that logistically is very, very difficult. But we're 2 weeks away. There'll be fans over in Northern Ireland, down south, travel plans, people trying to get organised. But ultimately, that's a separate issue with regard to where are you sitting in the stadium? Are you going to be sitting next to your mates, all that sort of stuff? The silence for Rangers and the complete disregard of us as supporters it's disgraceful. You know, we're on the 26th of July. I think John Bennett said he's going to what was that I said? I'm going to have a personal address. You know, I think he's obviously waiting to see what's happening with the steelwork, and he's wanting to be able to present a more positive communication. But 26th of July, what's happening? You know, see when there's silence, that just makes things worse. But I think that 2 weeks to go until the league season starts for us at Hampden, I just think it's embarrassing. But bring out a new strip, come to the shop, give us another 75 quid. You know, it's I genuinely don't like being going in hard on the club and the board, but it is really embarrassing. I've been a season ticket holder for 1,000 years, and the silence, the communication, the just treating me and the rest of the Rangers support as mugs. That's what it feels like. I don't feel connected to this football club, and that's wrong. But I get my Gears newsletter in. Thanks very much. Well, there's 50 quid. There's my wee boys. There's £25. Rangers have had the best part of £1,000 off me, and the season hasn't even started. And multiply that by how many thousand fans. You know, it's aye. Anyway, I said to Scott earlier, I know it's not news as such, but I think the board, the communication it's embarrassing, absolutely embarrassing.
Scott, the fans have done everything they've been asked to do, so it's not much to ask for to get a bit of clarity back on certain things. And I agree with you, Cammy, that these things are difficult, but it was the same thing with the stadium when we were in the dark about that. Just tell us what you know. You know, at least come out and say, look, this is the problem at the moment. We're dealing with this, dealing with that. You don't need a day-to-day thing, but to have nothing for me. Scott, are you getting to say on it?
It's a disgrace. It's nothing short of a disgrace.
Oh.
Even the support that's travelled 6 hours minimum down to Birmingham on Wednesday night and being treated to that performance is nothing short of shambolic. And the support that are still going to go to Germany on Saturday and potentially not get another performance through the club not being quick enough to give Clement the team he needs and deserves on the park. Clement come in, repaired the relationship between the fans, the club, the board, and all that. But it's as if a club have just purposely went out their way to snap it and break it. And I've got to feel it for season ticket holders. I'm not a season ticket holder myself. I try and get along when I can. But season ticket holders like Cammy and the other 50,000, 60,000 people that go and travel and spend their hard-earned wages on a club, and we're not getting enough back here. And eventually, this is going to reach boiling point. A couple of signings will paper over the cracks, right? A couple of signings will paper over the cracks, but it's not going to fix the synergy, so to speak.
And I'd hate to see if we don't start the season well as well, if we don't qualify for the Champions League or even get through that round, which is no given. and also we don't take full points for the first few games of the league. It could very well be boiling point, mate.
Can I just quickly? Can I just quickly?
Yep.
There's a few people. I think Bob and I think Curry's basically saying when's he going to give his personal update. He's taking. I'm not saying he's taking the easy way out. He's waiting until there's good news to share.
Yeah,
it's very easy, very easy to speak, but as a leader, you sometimes have to have difficult conversations, and you have to actually act as a leader and actually give honest conversations and honest communications. He's hoping that there's going to be a clear line in the sand, right? That all the steel's been delivered, all the seats have been delivered. This is going to be finished for the 10th of September. You're going to be back in Ibrox on the 16th of September for the start of the UEFA competitions. Brilliant, it's great, eh? And then he'll give you more sound bites and all that sort of stuff. That's why he's waiting as late as possible. And it'll probably be the 31st of July at 11:59 that we get the communication. But this communication has to be honest, and just be honest. I think you've said it, Billy. Just be honest about where we are as a club with regard to the stadium, where we are with regard to our finances, what the plan is for the season ahead and beyond. I know we have this 2030 plan, but I want to know what's happening in 24, 25. 2030 is 2030. You know what I mean? I'll be even older than I am now. It's, I just want us to be treated not just as numbers and not just as cash machines for Rangers.
No, I agree with you, mate. You just wonder who's giving them advice and what he's actually hearing back, because he surely must know the way the fans are feeling. But hey ho, Cammy, sorry, my throat has gone. Scott, you've given me whatever bug that is. You've been on for 50 minutes and you've given me it.
I know,
but, thanks for coming on, Cammy. Thanks for that wee bit at the end. Anything else to say before we go?
Oh, there's plenty, but I'll keep it. I'll keep it. I'll just give compliments to everybody that's engaged with us in the comments. I think that I always enjoy the live pods when there's good interaction in the comments, and I think that stimulates our conversation. You know, but I just want to get back to talking about what's happening on the park, and that's it. I just want Rangers winning games or drawing games or whatever it may be. Start to talk about the football. Everything else is secondary. But the club appear to be just happy just to continue with silence.
Scotty, I think we should take that season ticket off him. He's talking about getting draws. That's ridiculous, Cammy. It's win every game. But Scotty, thanks for coming on for your debut in the Rangers News. Are you going to join us again?
I know. And I'm glad to say that the Rangers News is going to be a permanent fixture as of the season when it kicks off. We're going to keep the Q&A show, the Rangers News, and we'll have our pre and post-match reactions when possible. And we're obviously we're post-match analysis and we're previews on a Monday and a Friday. So there's hundreds of content coming everybody's way. It's all costing you nothing. So get liking, get subscribing, share, tell your ma, your feather, your granny, anybody that likes the Rangers, get them to. And also, Stevie put in your chat earlier on that Ilya Gruev from Leeds United was linked. So I've got a Leeds United journalist that I speak to in a regular occurrence through Twitter, and I sent him a message saying, is there any this link between Gruev and Leeds and Gruev and Rangers now? Ilya Gruev's a great number 6. What a player. He's been linked with Dortmund this summer, and he's just put a laughing face on my message and just left it at that. So I think I can quash that link. The guy's called Joe Tiffany. I think we're actually going to get him on for... I've always wanted to speak about a British Cup idea, Billy. Scrapping the two League Cups in Scotland and England and bringing in a British Cup. Imagine the likes of Motherwell going away to Old Trafford and all that, and the finances and everything else. I think is a topic that could be quite interesting. So Joe's up for coming in on that. I'll need to get something scheduled with him. But no, Listen, mate, thanks for hosting. Thank you for having me. And Cammy, thanks for coming on, mate.
No, not a problem. Thanks both you guys. And I actually can't remember how we started this, Scott. But I think it's been me and Bob, and then Cammy's been involved, and it's been wasn't it Ricky that was on? Another guy was on. Kev.
Derek.
Derek. Sorry, Derek. Just couldn't remember. Yeah, it just kind of seemed to be anybody doing anything this afternoon. We'll get a roundup of the news going out. It's kind of became quite a popular feature, to be honest.
The thing is, Billy, it lets us focus on all the other stuff throughout the week, so that we're not drip feeding content. They got other Rangers news on a Friday, and it's an extra pod during the day. And if we've got time to put it out, brilliant. If we don't, then okay, no bother. One of them ones.
Well, I apologise at the beginning of the podcast for it being later on in the day today, but it looked like we've got an extra 300 listeners, watchers for this one. But as I say, it's going to go out on YouTube after this and to watch back, and also going out in the podcast app. So even if you don't have time to watch, stick it on your podcast if you're going for a walk tomorrow. But thank you everyone for your comments. Thank you for watching along. As I was saying earlier on, there is a pod at 6:30 where Bob will be back, so he's going to take part in a Friday show after all. But all left for me to say is every night is the Rangers Journal night. Sorry about that. Cheers, guys. Bye.